Okay, Hassaniverse TV. Here we go. So, what's today's topic? Well, today a friend asked me, she asked me, what's the benefits of meditation for an entrepreneurial mind? And I thought that's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question because, meditation for me has been so important, so fundamentally important on my journey in entrepreneurship. And I try to explain this quite often to entrepreneurs that I work with, and it makes more sense to me the more I talk about it and the more time that passes by when I use these techniques in my life and business. And perhaps I can start by talking a bit about what happens or what happened to me when I was not using meditation as an entrepreneur. Because even as an entrepreneur, as a person that's at the edge of the unknown, right? An entrepreneur is a person at the edge of the unknown. They're building something with little certainty. They're often working with constraints and limitations with time and energy and finances. So I've been through this process, and even before doing entrepreneurship, before doing what I'm doing now as executive coach, motivational speaker, all of this was always somewhat entrepreneurial, right? Previous to this, when I was working, say, as an engineering consultant or a consultant, a business consultant, or working in a laboratory, working as a scientist, or working as an engineer, these kind of technical jobs. These technical jobs, whilst they were still at the edge of the unknown and they still required me to think and find solutions, being an entrepreneur is slightly different because there's this exposure to risk that was not there compared to when I was, say, working a job or working in my career. So this exposure to the unknown plus exposure to risk plus little to no rule book or guide or instructions, I think what makes entrepreneurship so challenging sometimes. And I started meditation way before going into my entrepreneurial path, but even with that, I still can reflect on and think back to times when there has been a meditation practice and when there has not been a meditation practice. Now, what I experience is that the times when there was not a meditation practice, I would find myself pushing really hard to a point of exhaustion, kind of burning out, kind of losing my center. And sometimes I'd have some creative blocks or inspirational blocks, or I would find myself maybe being low in productivity. And as someone who's always been obsessed with peak performance, really because of my athletics career and wanting to push the limits of the human body, the mind, um, for me, it's really interesting to figure out ways to raise the bar on my own performance because when I think about, say, when I was doing, long distance cycling or time trials or endurance or half marathons, though that extra 2% or 3% improvement can lead to a big difference at the end of the finish line. So this for me is just a lifestyle and also an experiment in, what actually does peak performance look like and how far can the mind, the body actually be pushed. So productivity was obviously a part of my inquiry, and I noticed that when I was not meditating, productivity, inspiration, creativity, it was always there. I've always been able to bring it and find it. It was always available, but there was always this friction. There was always this kind of fight or battle, this kind of like, this kind of struggle. And I say always, it wasn't necessarily always, but I'd find that there'd be periods of deep flow and momentum and then all of a sudden just inertia. And I always wondered why that was. And when I compared that to times when I was meditating, meditating twice a day, 3 times per day, having a very, very solid practice of meditation, I would notice how my mind would be relaxed, my body would be relaxed, my creativity would come online in new ways. And I was speaking to a friend just recently about this, and I was saying how eventually it got to a point where I would be able to just meditate and almost kind of download information and then be able to just do my task and get it done. And then come to meditation, open up, find some inner quiet, download, so to speak, the information, and then go and do the tasks. So I got into this flow of yoga and meditation, or for example, like a run or yoga or a gym and yoga, whatever it may be, but something that activate the body, something that then calm the body, and then finding meditation. And then once I use my process to find this sense of inner calm and quiet where no thoughts were kind of coming to the mind constantly, it would then be in those states of consciousness where I'd be able to almost receive information. Because it would feel like receiving information, because it would feel as though I was being gifted complete instructions, right? But all of that information comes from me. It comes from my subconscious mind. It comes from the thoughts, the experiences. It comes from the information that I've processed or part processed. But when I would drop into a quiet meditative state, that's the point when the ideas would crystallize and they would feel like instructions. And then from that point, I would then go on to have my to-do list, my task list, and then finish meditation, write down the to-do list, and then go and do the tasks. All while, say, keeping my phone off or being in a quiet space, a place, to be able to carry out those tasks. So this is very, very interesting, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, because how can meditation help entrepreneurs? How can it positively impact an entrepreneur's life? And it's very, very simple. The more clear and the more calm we become, right? I say entrepreneur, it could be a professional, it could also be an executive, could be a creative, but anyone who is required to operate and function at a high standard over long durations of time, in the midst of the unknown, at the face of risk and uncertainty, right? That's what I'm talking about, where there's the potential of large amounts of stress as you're moving into something and being almost forced to create something against time or against resources or against energy limitations. So meditation, what it did was that, what it does, is that it brings me to this place of timelessness. And then from this place of timelessness, I'm able to really crystallize those thoughts and those ideas and then take action. Because taking action is something like placing a bet on the unknown future, right? I'm creating a rough model in my mind of how things are going to go. When I'm taking action, I'm moving into the future. I'm creating a cause that'll impact the future, right? But that cause is simply a bet because I can't actually know what the effect will be. Of course, I can model and calculate an analysis and seek to understand and model what the outcome can be, because that's what the mind does, right? We're always creating predictions in the future on the unknown based on actions now, creating causes now which create effects in the future, right? And then at some point, that future is the present, the cause and effect relationship. So what's happening here is that with meditation, I would find that I am able to place more effective bets with a higher probability of a positive outcome for me and those who are involved, more often than not. And then without meditation, what I would find is that my mind would, of course, still analyze and calculate and seek to place bets in the unknown. But if there was this rush or stress or push or fear, it's almost as though the state of the body, almost as though it actually is, it is as though the state of the body influences the ability of the mind to effectively calculate and model the unknown. So here's what I say with meditation is that if you can stabilize the mind and relax the body, for example, having activity then relaxation to move the energy in the body, right? When the body is calm and the mind is calm, we're then in a better position to place a bet on the unknown by taking action on information that we can crystallize, we can gather from our thoughts and experiences and information around us. So this is why I say that meditation is so fundamentally important, impactful for anyone who is doing any kind of work that's creative or and at the edge of the unknown in some sense, right? Executives, creatives, entrepreneurs, professionals, people that are pushing into the unknown future with something, with their actions, with their thoughts, with their ideas. This is why it's very, very important to relax the mind and to think clearly, because these days more than ever with social media and Instagram and the apps and notifications and bing, 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 and all of this is destabilizing the consciousness. All of this is destabilizing the mind. All of this is taking us away from that state of being which is most effective in helping us navigate the unknown future, right? Because the future, the present, the past are obviously all related, right? Some call this karma, but it's effectively it's called cause and effect, right? It's cause and effect. So the goal here is for us to be able to create the most impactful causes per unit energy, per unit time, such that we can create the future, the outcome that we want, that is beneficial for us and those around us. So this is why meditation is so fundamentally effective and important for the professional life, for entrepreneurial life. It's not woo woo, it's not different, it's not out there, it's not spiritual, right? It's not, some may regard meditation as a spiritual activity, right? Obviously we can think about, gurus and yogis and, monks meditating, in the beautiful mountains and, surrounded by nature and birds flying and butterflies and the sounds of water running and the sun going down and just being in a very meditative state, right? That's great. I've done that. It's fantastic. It's amazing. But being able to bring that state of consciousness into day-to-day life, into business affairs, being able to get to that place very, very quickly and then come back into work, into your day-to-day and make really, really good decisions, right? That is what can set you apart from the rest. That is what leads to tremendous success. Now, I've had a lot of success in meditation. I mean, I wouldn't actually probably be here today doing this job if it wasn't for meditation being this guiding force. Because this is what I say. It's anything that's inside, and seeking to be expressed, gifts, power, strength, opportunities. The subconscious mind, it's aware of all of this, but it takes a bit of time and it takes some quiet for us to bring that to life. And when I say subconscious mind, I'm talking about the vast expanse of intelligence. Call it, something like a quantum intelligence that we have in our minds, left brain, right brain. Left brain more linear, right brain more quantum, right? We have this supercomputer in our mind, but if we're always stimulated and engaged with a phone or a device or a task at hand, we're not actually dropping into that right brain, that supercomputer, that quantum computer with the right brain, which is seeing everything at once and can pull information from everywhere at once and then bring to your awareness a vision, a strategy, a plan, a next step that's going to be most impactful for your life and your mission and your purpose. So even, for example, this video, I had to go into a very deep, quiet state and come into my center to be able to find the energy, the words, to be able to speak the words I'm saying right now. So I think when it comes to the creative life, the life at the edge of the unknown, for example, the entrepreneur, this is why it's very, very, very impactful to make time for silence, at least, and also meditation. Now, I have my process that I use to get to that very, very inner quiet place, which I'll talk about later. But I hope this answers any questions, because I wouldn't be here without it. Really, I wouldn't be living this life that I live without it. I think I remember a time when I was stuck, when I was feeling stuck, in my career and a job that wasn't really the right fit for me. So what I would do, I would go to a church. There's a church 2 minutes away from my office. I was working in an office block with 3 screens, doing calculations and design, and it wasn't a bad job. It was like a good, well-paid job. But my soul knew, something inside me knew that we're not done here yet. This isn't what success looks like yet. At the time, it felt like it was success, but something in me knew that we're not there yet. Something, call it a calling. So what I would do, when everyone would go to lunch and check their phones and, go for a walk in the park or something, or whatever people do at lunchtime, basically, eat, for example, I would go to a church that was across the road. It was beautiful, stained glass, obviously all the pews and the chairs and the seats, and it was silent. And I'd go there basically every day. And I'd sit there and I'd meditate for 25, 30, 40 minutes every day. Because I knew that there's information that's inside of me that wants to come through in terms of some kind of action. And I'm fundamentally sure that the shifts and changes that I had in my career, the successes that I had throughout that period that shot me in different directions at extremely fast speed, I don't think I would have been able to crystallize those and bring those to life if I was overstimulated, overengaged, and not connecting with myself and avoiding my power, avoiding that information that lives inside. So this is why I say meditation is so important, because it almost accelerates your journey, your development journey. And of course, that can manifest in terms of business or relationships or health, whatever it may be, but it accelerates. It doesn't actually increase the speed of your life. What it does is that it brings to the surface everything that you need to place the best possible bet on the unknown future, in general. So that's it for now. We're approaching 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop it right there. Thank you so much.